You can't hang around with people you know at conferences because you won't make any new contacts. It's all about strangers, and it can be very, very scary. The good news is you're Israeli. I'm English, so it's very scary for me to meet strangers. I heard a story from survivors from the Titanic disaster, who they were being interviewed by the BBC 20 years after the disaster. In the 1930s, they were being interviewed on the BBC radio, and the interviewer said to this survivor, "So what did you talk about in the lifeboats? You were in the lifeboats for 5 hours before you were rescued. What did you talk about?" And the man said, "Well, we didn't." The interviewer said, "Why not? Were you too cold to speak? Too shocked? What?" He said, no, you see, we hadn't been introduced." And he was serious. He was absolutely serious. The biggest shipping disaster in history was not a big enough deal to introduce two Englishmen who didn't know each other. You can't afford to do that at conferences, and we often do. We often hide behind our exhibition stand. We hide behind the bowl of sweet of candy. We hide behind the more senior person who's better than we are at dealing with people. We hide behind each other, and we talk to each other. We talk to the other exhibitors because it's safer than talking to real people who might reject us when we try to phone them the next week. So what you just tried to do was forced intimacy. You tried to get quite intimate very quickly just to find out these personal things. Now, if you spend a minute investing in creating a very small personal connection with somebody you meet, any business information you want to get from them in the future is very, very easy to get. If you only try to invest that minute telling them how wonderful your company is, they've just met a robot, and they can meet a robot on the website. They can go onto the website and read what you just said in 5 sentences. They need to meet the person. It's the one opportunity you have to meet real human beings face to face. So get personal, get close up and intimate as quickly as possible. Thank you very much. Right, we're going to do a little session now about the brand character, about the toughest bit of marketing of all, which is understanding what is this strange abstract concept called the brand? What is the character of the brand? Crucially, how do you bring alive the brand character in an exhibition? How do you bring alive the brand character through your own social behavior? When I used to work in advertising, it would take about 6 months to agree on the brand character. We'd take about a month to agree on the proposition. So the proposition was, it refreshes you better than any other beer or whatever. Or it gives you more calmness and freedom than any other mobile network, whatever. But then we'd spend 6 months arguing, is it dynamic, innovative, and contemporary? Or is it dynamic, innovative, and modern? And we would lose accounts over it. We would lose clients over it. We'd lose friendships over it. We'd die of stress-related illnesses over this concept of brand character. And it was only when I started working in the theatre that I discovered what the problem was. The problem was that most brand character descriptions are composed of adjectives, descriptive words, dynamic, innovative, trustworthy, confident, all this kind of stuff. And what I learned in the theatre is that you can't perform an adjective. You can only perform an action. So you can't say to an actor, say this line more angrily, or say it in a more loving way, because it doesn't mean anything. You've never seen Hamlet walk on stage and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am confused, paranoid, and upset. Thank you very much." He doesn't do that. If I see someone in a bar I like, I'm not going to walk up to some girl and say, "Hello, I'm Joe. I'm dynamic, contemporary, and global yet local. Shall we have sex?" But brands do this all the time. Now, the reason why brand people love adjectives is because they don't mean anything. They mean different things to different people. And so they never really have to make a decision. They can just argue and sound clever all day long. It doesn't help at all when you come to actually bring alive the brand. So I spent a few years figuring out how to get over this problem on behalf of brands. I also learned along the way that so much of it is not about what you say in paid-for media, it's about how you behave. It's about how you act. Now, the really good news for this is if you're slightly nervous about how to present yourself face-to-face, the brand can give you inspiration. The brand can give you clues. The brand can even give you a mask to hide behind in a very good way. I remember the first time I went out on a hot date when I was a teenager, and my parents said to me, I was very nervous, of course, and my parents said to me, "Listen, Joe, just be yourself." This is the worst thing you can say to a teenager, because who am I? I don't know who I am. And actually, most of us don't really know who we are, so be yourself is ridiculous advice. What you can, however, do is, we all know what Homer Simpson would do in any particular situation. We all know what Joey from Friends would do in any particular situation. We know what the Dalai Lama would do. We know what Jesus would do. It doesn't matter who. We know what these characters would do who we know. And the trick is for you to understand your brand character as well as you know Homer Simpson. Because then you can just say, well, what would Homer do? What would the brand do? I'm going to do that. Now, when you have a good brand character description, you can personalize that brand in a way that is absolutely congruous. It's absolutely comfortable with your own personality and with your own character. You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not. When you don't have a good brand character, almost all of us pretend to be people we're not. We pretend to be the person we saw at another conference who was very good. We pretend to be who the boss wants us to be. We pretend to be who we think the boss wants us to be, even worse, because we're in a world of speculation. So your challenge then is to find good brand character description that's practical and that you can work with. So we're going to have a look at that now. First of all, I'd like you to shout out a few examples of real-life brand character descriptions, maybe from your own brands. So there are the cliched words like dynamic, innovative, trusted, confident, global yet local, traditional yet contemporary, things like that. Empowering. Sorry? Enabling. Oh, God, that's such a beautiful one because it means everything and nothing. Okay, enabling, great. Innovative, super, and cutting edge, great. So we've got state of the art, great. Oh, well, hang on now. You see, we would spend about 3 months in a conference room shouting at flip charts about the difference between cutting edge and state of the art. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So let's say that we have a brand, any brand. Shout out the name of a brand. Procter & Gamble, great. A brand, a Procter brand. Head & Shoulders, super. Okay, so I'm the receptionist. I work at Head & Shoulders. Okay, I work in the Head & Shoulders office at P&G. And I've been told that the brand is, what was your word? The brand is enabling, cutting edge, and refreshing. I'll go with refreshing. Okay, so I've been told as the receptionist that I have to live and breathe these brand values. So I have to now answer the phone in a way that is enabling, refreshing, and cutting edge. Okay? It sounds ridiculous. I get marketing directors to do it. I say, what are your brand values? And they say, you know, confident, dynamic, and global yet local. So I say, well, pick up the phone in a confident, dynamic, and global yet local way. And they look at me like a creature from the lost world, and they say, what do you mean? And I say, well, I don't know. What do you mean? They're your words. And they panic. So, okay. So I'm going to do one at a time to make it easy for myself. I'm going to start with enabling. What the hell does it mean? Hello, Head & Shoulders, how can I help you? Is that enabling? No, what is it? How would you describe it? Annoying, correct, annoying, great. So far we have a brand character which is annoying, great. I'm going to try enabling again. Hello, how can I help you? How was that? Was that any good? No? I'm trying too hard, great. Okay, so I'm an annoying try-hard so far. Super. This is not what we want to spend millions on producing on behalf of our brand. The next one, cutting edge. Right, I've got to answer the phone in a cutting edge way. I have no idea what to do. Hello, boring person who the market has left behind. If you want to catch up, be with us. I mean, what do you say? How can you prove that you're cutting edge in the way you answer the phone? And if you can't do it in the way you answer the phone, you can't really ask a copywriter to do it on a banner. That's cheating. They're not magicians. What was the other one? Innovative. Hello, how can I help you? I mean, how do you be innovative when you're answering the phone? You don't. You could not answer the phone. That's quite innovative. So brand character doesn't work when we describe it as adjectives. Let's have a look at these three. We'll take these bullshit words, actually, because it's valid. If I believe in what I'm saying, I should be prepared to take bullshit examples and turn them into something real. So, enabling. Enabling is a wonderful word because it means absolutely nothing. What sort of people are enablers? What sort of people are enabling in life? Listeners. What sort of listeners? What sort of people professionally are enabling people? Coaches. Great. Teachers. Nice. And the best kind of teachers do what? How do they teach? They ask questions, like Socrates. They draw it out of the pupil, yeah? So you can coach and you can draw out lessons from people. These are the actions, the verbs involved in being enabling. Now, if you say to your team of salespeople or your team of representatives who are going to be representing your company at a conference, listen, the brand is enabling. None of us know what it means, but at the conference, I'd like you to coach people as far as possible. And they'll say, what do you mean? You say, well, you know what coaching is. Ask people about their problems, ask them what they want to achieve, ask them how they might be able to achieve it. What was the other thing? It was listeners and teachers. Great. And what do teachers do? They draw out the learning from people. They use examples. They get people to tell them things. So do that. If you want to educate people about the product, ask them questions about how they understand the product, how they understand similar products. Let them position it in their own mind. So straight away from the word enabling, which means nothing, we immediately have a couple of very practical things that you can do. And it doesn't matter what you're like as a person. You don't have to be a big, loud person. You don't have to be a timid person. You don't have to be somebody that you're not. You can always educate people, teach people by asking them questions. That's a physical activity that you can perform whatever kind of character you have. And if one of the characteristics of your brand is enabling, then you must do that. Straight away you have something that you can do. You have a mask that you can hide behind. You have a what would Homer Simpson do that can push you forwards. Let's have a look at the other one, cutting edge. Cutting edge, crikey. Does anyone actually have that, by the way, in your brand character description? Do any of you have it? Because if you do, you just need to get rid of it. It means nothing. So what do cutting edge people do? What are the activities that cutting edge people perform? What did you say? Research. Cutting edge people perform research to stay cutting edge. What do they research? What sort of things do they look into? One sec. Great, okay. So they can research the latest ways of solving the various types of problems that arise for your customers, even if your products don't solve those problems. You look at the way that your market is currently solving problems. What else did you say? Risk-taking. Who said that? Great. What sort of risks? I mean, we're not talking about jumping off a cliff, are we? What sort of risks? Development risk. Great. Uncertainty. Being comfortable. Optimism, yeah. Now, what does optimism mean in terms of a verb? What are the actions that we perform when we're being optimistic? What are the things that we do? Any suggestions? We hope. One of the things we do is hope. Another thing we do is we give hope. Optimism can be very infectious, yeah? What else do optimistic people do? They look at the upside of things always instead of the downside. They look for possibilities instead of limitations. If they find limitations, they figure out how to destroy those limitations and push through. These are all things that you can do in the room, in a conference with the people who come and talk to you. You ask them about what their problems are. Even if their problems are not specific to what your product does, if you position yourself as a member of the brand and as a person who helps them solve their problems spontaneously, then you're positioning the brand as a problem solver. Someone had their hand up at the back. Yes? Create the future. Wonderful. So how does one create the future? What are the things that we can do to create a future? Look for what's wrong. Super, super. What else do we do to create the future? Imagine. We take action. What sort of action? Okay, great. So we take the initiative. We produce ideas and we take them to other people. We don't wait for the Messiah. Great. There's a lot of companies out there who wait for the Messiah, even if they say innovative, cutting-edge, dynamic in their brand character description. Okay, so these are a few little examples. What we're going to do now is a little game. I'm going to get you into A's and B's. So everybody needs to find a partner to play this game with. One of you is A, one of you is B. A is not better than B, don't worry about it. It doesn't mean anything. So everyone needs to find a partner first before I give you the rest of the instructions. So if you don't have a partner, jump up onto your feet, find somebody to sit next to play this game with. It doesn't matter whether or not you know them, it's not too intimate. Okay, does everyone have a partner? Okay. One of you is A, one of you is B. A, I'd like you to imagine that you are a vendor at an exhibition. You're representing your company at an exhibition. B is somebody you have never met before who's just come up to your exhibition stand and said, "Oh, hello, what do you do? Oh, nice candy." So that's the initiation of the scene that you're going to play, okay? The vendor, what I want you to do is I want you to select one of the following 3 or 4 actions that I'm going to give you, and I want you to try to perform that action in the conversation as much as you can, in a way that is comfortable for your personality, okay? The first action I'm going to give you is to coach people, to find out their problems and ask them what sort of solutions they might be able to find for their own problems. That's the first action that you can perform if you want, okay? The second action that you can perform is, what else do we have from, creating the future. That's quite a nice one. From creating the future, ask people what do they want to change in the world around them, in the market around them. In fact, let's just stick with those two for now. So you can create the future by finding out what people want to change and speculating with them ways of changing it. Or you can coach them by asking them what they would like to achieve and helping them to figure out ways that they can achieve it, as if you're a personal coacher. Okay? Do one or both of those two things in this conversation as much as you can until it gets uncomfortable for you as a person. It should never, ever, ever be a bad match with your personality. Okay? And you can invent a type of product, you know, garlic-flavored toothpaste, it doesn't matter what. Or you can stick with the real product that you're actually dealing with. The important thing is not the product details that you talk about in this conversation. The important thing is your social behavior in this conversation, how you perform these two types of actions in a way that feels comfortable for you. Okay? And then at the end of this conversation, just let it go on for 2 or 3 minutes, that's it. At the end of it, take some feedback from B, from the person who played the customer. See which bits they liked and appreciated. See which bits they noticed that you were doing when they spotted you doing it. Okay? And how they felt about it compared to a normal sales conversation or a normal conversation with a vendor. Okay? 2, 3 minutes, and then you have a quick chat about what you experienced. Give it a go. Once you start Israelis talking, you can't stop. Great stuff. So the important thing about this is not so much what were the particular things that you just did right now. The important thing is the process. The important thing is that you get fluent with the idea of, first, translating adjectives into actions, and secondly, practicing performing those actions in your conversational behavior in a way that's comfortable for you. And you must practice with your team. It's one of the best things that you can do to inspire and motivate your team, is to practice this game with the team of people who are going to be with you at an exhibition. They learn so much about themselves, they learn quite a lot about each other, and in fact they learn a lot about their own brand. When you have this brand character to work with, first of all, you have this mask to hide behind, so you don't feel naked and alone. Secondly, you can stop worrying, who am I? Who am I because I just have to be myself? You don't have to be yourself, you have to be the brand in a way that's comfortable for you. It's very different and it's much easier. The third thing is that the brand itself is promoted consistently, but in a subconscious way. The audience don't understand why. They felt that they had a very similar positive experience with all of the 6 people they spoke to, or whatever it was, even though those 6 characters were very diverse people, very different individuals. All of them gave a consistently positive impression, and the person coming away doesn't even consciously know why. It's extremely powerful. So that's the brand character side of things. Now, you're all Israeli, almost all of you, and a lot of the companies you work for are Israeli as well. Now, when you come to conferences in Israel or internationally, you simply cannot ignore the fact that you are Israeli. There's nothing you can do to get away from that fact. And one thing that I've noticed as an Englishman living in Israel is that Israelis often try to compensate for the fact that they're not European. There's often this belief, and you shouldn't believe it, there's often a belief that anywhere outside of Israel is more sophisticated. They know something we don't. Trust me, they don't know anything that you don't. They really don't. But we do have this kind of inferiority complex about our social status and about the way we are. This comes onto the subject of chutzpah, and chutzpah is a very powerful thing for you to work with when you understand what it is as an Israeli, especially when you're dealing with foreigners. Now, who can give me a definition of chutzpah, of what chutzpah is? Just shout out some... Charm? Charm? Who said charm? What? Not waiting to be asked. Nice. Speaking your mind. Excellent. Speaking loudly. Getting too personal. Daring. Asking how much is the salary. Getting too personal again. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, well, these are all classic examples of chutzpah, and they're all very similar in the sense that they're all negative. There is negative chutzpah and there is positive chutzpah. Now, the reason why we normally think of chutzpah as negative is for two reasons. Firstly, when somebody pushes in front of us in the supermarket, we go, well, it's a chutzpah. So we label people as having chutzpah when they've done something bad. The second reason why we think of chutzpah as a negative thing is because most of the people who have tried to define chutzpah have been comedians. Jackie Mason, people like that. And they usually use very funny examples to define chutzpah. Now, the problem with that is that humor is about negative things. You never see a stand-up comedian being enthusiastic about something. They talk about things they don't like. It's very easy to be funny when you're being negative. So we all walk around with this cloud in our minds of this idea that chutzpah is a negative thing. It's a bad thing. It's not. It's a completely neutral thing. Sometimes we express it badly, manifest it badly. Sometimes we manifest it well. And the difference between whether we do it well or badly is the difference between how far we apply the central algorithm of what chutzpah is. Now, what chutzpah is quite simply the refusal to accept limits. That's what chutzpah is. We refuse to accept limits. Now, there's positive chutzpah in many ways. Technological chutzpah, commercial chutzpah. An example of technological chutzpah is drip irrigation. That's serious chutzpah against the limitation of the fact that we live in a desert climate. Israel was 75% desert for a long time. I'm very proud of this statistic, actually. It's not 75% desert anymore. It's about 66% desert. That's because of the irrigation technology, because we made the desert bloom. That's real chutzpah. We refused. We said we absolutely reject this limitation of climatic problems. We reject it. We're going to find a way around it. We're going to be creative. We're going to subvert what fate gave us. And we're going to find a way around it. That's creative chutzpah. The man who invented the rewalk was a paraplegic. And he invented this machine that allowed him to walk again. That's major chutzpah. That's my kind of chutzpah. Fate said to him, you will never walk. And he said, yes, I will. That's amazing chutzpah. Better Place is a fantastic example of commercial and technological chutzpah. Shai Agassi was told, you will never, ever, ever make a purely electric car. You will only have a hybrid. And he said, I don't believe you. That's a limitation that I reject. So he created a fully electric car. That's chutzpah. We also have religious chutzpah. We said that no king is a god. That's real chutzpah. The Babylonians didn't like us very much for that. And the Christians actually don't like us very much either because they like to believe that there was at least one guy who was kind of a god. And we say, no, he wasn't. He was just a Jew with a beard. And they really don't like us. We also have social chutzpah. What does this mean? It means that we reject social limitations. In England, like I told you this morning, two Englishmen on the lifeboat of the Titanic didn't speak to each other because they hadn't been introduced. They respect social limitations. They feel safe within their social limitations. You'll never answer back to the boss. You'll never tell him he's wrong. You'll never challenge authority. You'll never challenge an assumption that comes from authority. You'll never challenge the dominant personalities in the room. If the boss says no, you don't ask again. You accept that the answer is no. These are huge social limitations that prevent us from getting things done, and Israelis instinctively reject those limitations. So the only social rules, really, that are in operation in Israel are you say what you think when you think it, and you assume total equality with everyone you meet, from the prime minister to the janitor. And this is a very sweet and charming thing sometimes. A lot of the time, it can be very negative and unpleasant. So how do we make it positive and pleasant, especially if we're going to be going off and doing conferences in Germany or in England or anywhere in Northern Europe or in America where they have different social rules? Or Japan, the Far East. I mean, working with the Koreans, the Taiwanese, the Chinese, especially with the Japanese. Okay, well, here's what you do. The first thing is you admit openly that you're Israeli. It's like saying, hello, I'm an alcoholic. Hello, I'm Israeli. And it's a very powerful thing to do. Because first of all, you get over that people say, where are you from? You go, Israel. And they go, okay, I see. Okay, that guy doesn't like us very much. So you say, I'm Israeli. I don't know if you've met an Israeli before, but we often do things differently. The next thing that you can do is, you were talking about being too personal. Right. The big thing with chutzpah, one of the big things with chutzpah is social intimacy. Israelis assume a level of intimacy with everybody they meet, which is why an Israeli sitting on the bus will say, hey, where did you get those shoes? How much do they cost you? You schmuck, I can get them for half the price. And you think it's really rude. It's not. Because your mum would do that, wouldn't she? Your brother would do that. Your sister would do that. They assume that they already have closed the distance, that everyone else in the world respects the distance, and the friendship closes it. Israelis assume we've already closed it. This can be intrusive and unpleasant for some people. If you say up front, listen, I'm Israeli, we do things very informally in Israel, I hope you don't mind. By the way, nice shoes, where did you get them? I can probably get them half price, you schmuck. No, here's a very sweet example of what you can do. You know, everyone has candy as giveaways, right? Everyone has a bowl of candy. Or a disc on key, you know, disc on keys that they give away, or candy, or both. Edible disc on keys would be quite fun. So what I would suggest you do, and I'm being absolutely serious, bake cakes and biscuits and take them along. Make sure you've made them yourself. Don't buy them from the supermarket. Make sure you or someone on the team has made them themselves. And when someone comes and picks up a little jam biscuit, you go, oh, Ronnie made them, do you like them? Straight away, you have a level of social intimacy that nobody else in this exhibition is ever going to have, not even the Israeli companies. Why? Because the Israeli companies are trying to overcompensate. They're trying to be too professional. And when you try to be too professional, you create the distance that Israelis have already naturally closed in their minds. Use that as an asset. Use the fact that there is no distance as a massive asset, but just be really, really open about it. Otherwise, your prospects will get very annoyed with you. If you go straight in with the social intimacy and you don't give them a context, they'll just go, oh, there's that pushy person that I didn't really like very much. But if you offer them a homemade baked biscuit and you say, listen, I'm Israeli, we're very informal, we do things informally, so I hope you don't mind. What's your name? Do you have any kids? And you start a tiny little conversation with them like that, find some common ground, then start to ask them about their business problems, their business needs. They'll really, really open up to you. Especially if you're slightly self-deprecating, if you say something slightly against yourself, it's extremely powerful because it makes you unthreatening. Most people in exhibitions, they're wearing a mask, a very aggressive mask, a mask of perfection. They refuse to show any vulnerability. They refuse to show any flaws. They refuse to show any humanity. And people don't like them. Now, if you can have a flaw of some kind, if you can have some humanity, have some vulnerability, people will adore you and they'll remember you forever as that person they met at that exhibition. Forever they'll remember you. I met Dan Castellaneta once in Chicago, the guy who plays the voice of Homer Simpson. And he explained that in the very first series, they believed that Bart Simpson was the star. And they marketed The Simpsons based on Bart because they thought Bart was what they called aspirational. Everybody wants to be Bart. Bart's the winner. He's cheeky. He always gets out of trouble. They didn't market Homer because Homer was a loser. And they realized after about 6 or 7 episodes that Homer was the star. Why? And Dan Castellaneta said, we as theatre and film and TV professionals should have known this. We were ashamed that we didn't know it. We were ashamed that the market had to tell us. The reason why Homer was the star was because he was the one with the emotional vulnerabilities. He was the one who we could relate to as a human being. He was the one who made it safe for us to be us. All of us want to be Bart. Nobody wants to be Homer. But let's be honest, we all know we are Homer, and we're not Bart. And Homer makes it safe. That's why we love him. We don't love Bart, we like him. We love Homer. We actually have a passion for Homer. So find whatever it is that's sweet and cute about you from your team. Be open and say, listen, guys, I really want you to tell me, what is it about me that you think is imperfect but quite charming? Every character, theatrical character, dramatic character, whatever, every character has a charming flaw of some kind. What is that charming flaw? Play it for all it's worth. People will love you for it. People will love your brand for it, they'll love your company for it, and they'll love Israel for it. It's great hasbara. Hasbara through personal connection is incredible. So you'll be promoting Israel and promoting your own brand at the same time. That's it from me on this subject. It's a very, very big subject. I haven't really got very much time to go into it, but just to recap, turn adjectives into actions. Perform those actions in your daily behavior. Practice performing those actions consciously with your team. Laugh at it. Turn it into comedy. Enjoy it. Embarrass yourselves. Take it too far. Go stupid, because that will teach you through play about your own personality and about your own social behavior. Recognize that chutzpah is about a refusal to accept limitations. When people try to give you limitations, playfully bust down those limitations. Say, wow, that's a great challenge. It's not a problem, it's a challenge. What an exciting, what an inspiration for us. We've got something to work on now. We've got a mission. Fantastic. Most people in Europe, you give them a problem and they go home and they die. People in Israel, you give them a problem, yeah, I've got a mission. Yesh li mesima. Yofi. So there we go. Thank you very much. Back to Batchen.